precision killer in a
Okay, in this video I want to talk about from the TV show Deadliest Warrior, the episode The Celts versus the Persian Immortal. And the thing I want to debunk here in this video is about example how they talk about the Celts, especially the Celt and some part of the Persian Immortal, the Persian elite soldier from the early days of Iran, the first official empire in Persia, and then later on we have the Sassanids, and in the middle that we have the Parthians. So the thing I want to say about the Celts is they very much forget in this episode is the chainmail. Like the Celts are the inventors of chainmail, and that is the main part. Like example, the thing is here is when you go to museum and you can see so many like example how the people that the Greeks and the Romans called the Celts were almost never naked in battle. For example, if you are naked in battle, you will die. You will die of an arrow or you will die of a spear. That is the first thing. You will not survive naked. I don't care how crazy you are. If you run naked somebody and somebody have armor and a sword or a spear or an axe or a javelin or a bow, they're gonna just throw it at you or shoot it at you. Release it at you with a bow, or just stab you with the sword. That is the first thing, and so the point here is in the episode is that why do they not use like chainmail for the Celts? That is the first thing. And for chainmail, they were the first inventor of chainmail, and because the reason why the Celts use the reason why the it's very important. The reason why the Celts in France, England, and use chainmail is because of the sword. The sword, I don't know really how to say it. Like we do it like this. Part 1 Celts, they in Austria, Belgium, France, and all these places we have to call it today: France, Belgium, England, and Scotland, and Ireland. All of them have people that the Romans call the Celts, but they themselves do not call themselves Celts. But so we say Celts for you, so you understand. But the reason why they use chainmail is because of the sword that the Part 1 Celts use in the places where I already say, because the long sword is ineffective against chainmail swords. Against chainmail armor. But we also know for a fact that Celts also use heavy weapons like axe or some kind of polearm weapons like maces and so on. If there's a picture on that in a book, they has like heavy spike weapons. Because if you have chainmail, of course you're gonna invent weapon that can deal with the chainmail to kill the enemy, and of course they also use helmets. And like some helmets were very decorated, like with boars or birds on the head of the helmet. And this kind of helmets were mostly used as a ceremonial helmets, and some of the other helmets was war helmets. I think the less decorated helmets was much more war helmets, and the more decorated helmets is more ceremonial helmets for the Celts. I really hate to say Celts, but it's not it's similar to when you say Indians. Is not giving any justice to the people because they're so different in culture. Like if you example talk about people living in Spain, or you talk to people living in Austria in like early Bronze Age and so on, and then later on the early Iron Age in England, today's England, or in Ireland, or like it's complicated thing for them when you go to So the problem here with the show, I know that the show is for fun, but there's so many problems with the show. For example, how they represented the Celts. The warrior in this episode is much more like a Pict to a Celt. I don't really understand really why they don't say Pict instead for Celt. In the episode, they're like the Picts, instead for Celt versus the Persian immortal, they should say like Pict versus the Persian immortal. In the episode, for the warrior is much more similar to a Pict in some senses, and of course Picts also was never fighting naked. So the problem is the problem here is when you, and the other thing was that one of the guys on the Persian side say that the Celts were never professional warriors. That is completely wrong to say, for we know that the Celts serve as mercenaries for the Greeks, especially after Alexander the Great's time. Like I think I'll probably say wrong now, but somebody correct me in the comments box. Is I think the I don't remember the name, but the one of Alexander the Great general was in Turkey. I think Seleucus or like Lysander. Some of them I think used Celts as mercenaries in some war, and later on they also invade Macedonia, and I don't totally forget their name, but he used some war elephants to crush them. One of the Alexander the Great generals. I don't know if Demetrius, Alexander, Seleucus. I don't remember who it was. I think it was Seleucus. The point here is that this is very, very, very wrong to say that Celts were never professional warriors. I almost can say that the Celts maybe are even better than the Persian immortals because of the weapons. They are very, very, but the Celts were very, very advanced in weapons and armor. They were very advanced. The simple thing is with the episode that they really stupefy the Celts in the episode. They really, really showing like a barbarian. And if you look at Celtic art, Celtic art, especially in Hallstatt or in France, or in Belgium, or in Germany, if you look at the Celtic art, the art in these places where the Celts have been, or in Norway, you can see the art of the Celts is extremely advanced. And of course they also buy art from other cultures like the Etruscans, the Thracians, and the Greeks. But the art they use when they mix like spirits with plants, like plant theme, like flowers and like wolves with human heads, or nightmare vision of art and so on. It's very beautiful. It's very, very beautiful. And then you go to Spain, you see something other things that's very, very beautiful in Spain. Especially my favorite ones is absolutely this. It's a statue with a wolf, and it's a decapitated human head, that the wolf's feet is over, and it's very, very beautiful. Like you can find it in a museum in Spain. I think it's the same place where you can in Cordoba or Granada. I don't exactly know if it's Granada where the museum is, but it's a historical national museum in Spain, and then you can see very beautiful sculpture about the Celts, about the Liberian Celts. Sorry, the Liberian Celts. The other thing is in the episode is the weapons. Especially first thing I have to say before I say the next thing is I'm not an expert in early Persian weapons, like especially weapon from 400 BC or like 300 BC, but we know the Persians 400 BC was the Persian Empire, the Achaemenian Empire, and then later on Alexander conquered that, and then Alexander's general Seleucus have it, and then later on then the Seleucid Empire fall against the Parthians, and later on the Parthians fall against the Sassanids, and then we have the Arabians attack the Sassanids, and the Arabian was lose the power against I think the Turks, and then later on we have after that some free empire later. Then we have the Safavid, and then we have the royal and so on. Then we have, Ayatollah and so on and so on. But the thing is with the Sagarian axe is that I don't really know if the axe looked like that with the spike. I don't know if they really invent that spike on the axe that time period. For me, it looks similar to like a very late, very late medieval axe. But I know that the Scythians use axe on the horses' saddle axe, so that can be a possibility. The good thing with the show Deadliest Warrior is that the Persian immortals looks much more how the Persian immortal looks like, comparable to the stone art, like comparable to the the comparatory art. Is much better done in this show comparable to like the movie 300 when the Persian look like orcs. That is totally wrong, and I can say that is a positive thing I can say. But the positive thing I can say about the show that they give some warriors right look and clothing, and other warriors they give a wrong look. In the show, in the Deadliest Warrior show, and the other thing is very nice with this episode with the Celt and the Persian immortal is the first time I think ever they take a warriors some live from the similar time periods, like Celts was. From the first time was 1000 BC all the way like to 3. So like we know that the Celts were living at the same time period as the Persian empires was, or even before, and even before that. So we know that Celts live all the way, and they also live after the Achaemenid Empire fall, and so that is not totally impossible that the Persian meet the Celts in some places. That is not totally impossible, and so on. And the only thing I'm a bit sad about, the only thing I think is a bit bad in the show is the armor. The only thing is that with the Celts, that for this they are so famous for the chainmail. It's similar to like a Viking are famous for the long ships. The Celts are famous. They are the Celts are famous for the chainmail, and of course the long shield. And we know that the Romans copied the Celt shield, and they copy the chainmail, and they copy the Celts. One of the type of Celts helmets. We know the Celts use different kind of helmets from different time period, and of course some inspiration they take from the Etruscans, and we also know that they have some armor. And they also work as mercenary. The most famous for the Celts in the Popo Valley was mercenary for the Carthaginians, especially for Hannibal Barca, as the mercenaries, as his heavies. Yeah, so that is my point with the whole thing, is that if you say a warrior is not a professional warrior in the TV show, you should probably look closer to the history and read much more about them before you say these kind of things. For that, if they if they serve to the Greeks, they serve to the Carthaginians as mercenaries, and so on. So, and yeah, and I think maybe there's the only thing, not so much more to say about the thing is that like to really before that side, maybe it's like about the Celtic sword, the long sword. I don't know really. That is probably the only thing I really need to say in the show. And yeah, let's continue this.
It's a war machine. Forged the largest empire the Middle East has ever. Its battlefield technology beneath the helmet will measure the force generated by a Sagara strike.
Anything over 81 psi or...
Okay. Something I really need to say about this this helmet in the show is the helmet is more a Roman helmet, an early not early but the early Roman helmet. Probably, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the Celts helmets never have that neck protection beside like the Roman have. So I can be wrong here, but is yeah. So you can see there.
Penetration into that pressure mat is considered a skull fracture. Adasher, are you ready?
Ready.
Test scan sensor armed. High speeds up and armed. 3, 2, 1, go!
Okay. From the start is you will never ever be able to take away a shield with the axe like this so fast, because first of all, if you have to understand that the Celt use spear or javelin. The first thing, if you come so close, you're never gonna be so close that you can pull the shield away. And the other thing here with the armor here, like the leather belt, the belt protected their stomach, a bit of the stomach, the big belt and the helmet. Is the problem here is they never used that kind of armor. No, like if they was half naked, they had some kind of pants. Some was made of sheep, and they use color from the plant to color the pants, and they have a sword, a long sword, and a long shield. But later on, the elite warriors use chainmail to protect themselves, a coat and then a chainmail over that long. But they never ever use this kind of armor. It's like this kind of armor is much more Hollywood style kind of armor, so on. And here is other thing I want to show. That's the last thing I want to talk about, and then I finish this video. Okay, here it is. When your weapon is stuck in somebody, and you try to pull the axe out with your hand, and the spike out from the axe, from the body, and your head is so close to the other person's body, you're so close, that strike need to kill. That is the first thing. If you don't kill with that strike and you're stuck to the body, and the other person have his free hands ready to swing his sword against your head or your neck or something. Like, if we know that maybe some Persians that have heavy armor, like scale armor, comparable to the Scythians, because the Scythian workers, some of the Scythians work as mercenaries for the Achaemenians, and there were also some one of the Scythians also killed one of the Persian king. There was a woman, a queen woman, was a powerful Scythian empress, and So the thing here is completely idiotic to swing something that short to somebody and you get stuck in that person. And if that was not a killing strike, that is end of you. Nobody gonna let you just hit you and just let you some minute try to pull the weapon out from your body and don't do nothing against you when they have that opportunity, that you had this like extremely close to their stomach, and they can just swing their sword or their club or their axe or something, just kill you. But you have to understand also, in the warfare, there's not only one or two, there's many people on the battlefield, and somebody gonna come behind you, swing the sword or stab you with a spear or throw a javelin or shoot release an arrow at you. So that is no, and that is completely idiotic. That should make much more sense if that armor was a chainmail, because chainmail you can puncture with a spiked weapon. Not always, but these spike weapons are more prevalent to attack chainmail, and that is there is something I also want to talk about with this, is why example of Celtic weapons is not only sword and spear, because if you have to understand, if a warrior have a helmet, you need weapons that can go through that with the helmet, can crush the helmet, not crush the helmet, but can hurt somebody under the helmet. And there is a reason why I think the Celts, and also I see some pictures that Celts use like mace weapons. Some of them use mace weapons like a club. Like, you only need iron, and you need the hardened iron to make the club like to be effective against helmets, but you cannot use a Celtic sword against a chainmail armor, like an early type of chainmail armor that the Celt use, because the Celtic sword in the Celtic one, because the Liberian Celt used the falcata and some kind of little knife, especially the falcata, and the other one used this long sword, and it was of course different time period, different pommel to the sword and so on. But the Celt can use a very, very long sword. If it's a very, very good example of a Celtic longsword in one museum in Austria that is very long. I don't know exactly how long, but it's not comparable to a Zweihander at all. It's not even close to a Zweihander. Zweihander is a very, very long sword, much later on in medieval time, late medieval time, I think in the 16. Yeah, so it's a long sword. It's a long sword, but it's a slashing sword. It's not a piercing sword. It's not it's not like the gladius. Gladius, like the Roman use, there's like a slashing sword. So of course, then the reason why they need other weapons to go through the chainmail to even kill the enemy. Yeah. So yeah, so that is, I think, really everything. Everything I want to say with this episode is the most important thing is when you see these kind of episodes, is remember that they are for fun. They are not historical in any sense. The only thing is that they are used warriors in some sense from history in the show, but they are not historical. These shows, they are much more for fun, because there's many things they do wrong, extremely much things they do wrong, and some of the armors is not really a very good quality armor in the show. So that is really, it's a very important thing. So don't, when you see this, I know this episode is very old, very old, but if you see it and you like history, really remember that this is not historical shows. They're just for fun. They are entertainments and this kind of thing. So they're not, so they're not for historical learning. So you don't think that, because there's so many things they do mistakes in the show, and so many things they tell us, and it's wrong in many sense. Yeah, and I can say there's many more to say about this, and yeah, that is okay. Now that is everything I really want to say. I hope you like this video, and yeah, bye.